interesting. But now, in these past 2 weeks, two things were said to me that I was like, wow, like that's super interesting, and I really can relate it back to class. And they both have to do with literacy, which is ironic because most people don't like put SDS and literacy or reading together. So I thought it was really interesting. One student said, I wish FCS was longer than 40 minutes because it's a lot of fun, but mostly because I really don't want to go to reading. I was surprised that she would say this to me, let alone, like, period. But she's like, when I asked why, she said, oh, because in reading, all we do is sit there and read silently. Like, I don't want to have to read in front of the class, and I don't have to read in my seat. I like reading, but I just don't like reading these books. So I asked, like, oh, what kind of books do you like? I was just trying to talk to her. She said she liked Lemony Snicket, Harry Potter, stuff like that. If that's their attitude towards reading, I can understand why we have low reading scores and low test scores. Because if you're not enjoying it, how are you really getting the most out of it that you can? So, as teachers, like, this connected to our 219 class a lot, because what do we talk about all the time? All the different ways that you can incorporate reading and make it fun and different and new. So, all of those things need to be incorporated if you want students to succeed and if you want them to go above and beyond what's expected of them. There are a few examples of this. Another thing that I found was super interesting and ironic was the fact that when I was handing out the surveys, one student looked at it and was like, oh, this is so much to read. I was like, that's not that much. And I told him, I'm like, it's about you. Like, I just want to know, like, what you enjoy doing outside of school. If you like to read. He's like, I hate reading. So I was like, okay, just fill out the survey. Like, I'll come talk to you after. He finished it relatively quickly, so I went by him and I was talking to him and I was just asking him, okay, so, like, what do you like to do? I looked at his survey. He likes to play board games. He likes to play sports. He really loves basketball. He loves Derrick Rose. So we had some things to talk about. And I was like, you know, like, being literate means more than just, like, reading. You might not like to read books and textbooks and things like that, but watching a basketball game, you have to be literate. So I asked him a few questions, like, what happens when Derrick Rose, I really don't know that much about basketball to be making up scenarios, but I asked him questions about basketball, like, what happens when you see a guy driving into the right, and he talks about, like, a shift in defense. So I'm like, you're literate. Like, that is being literate. Whether you think of it as reading or not, like, you're reading. You're reading the play. You're reading everything. So he was, like, a little more interested in that. But I saw, like, the aha moment when I told him about, like, watching a movie. I was like, imagine if you didn't watch a movie with sound. Could you understand it? He's like, yeah. I was like, what if you watch it without the actual movie? You just heard it. He's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, then you're literate. You're reading and putting things together. So when you're watching an actual movie, you're taking what's going on and you're applying it to what you're hearing. So it can be two different things, and your brain will know, hey, something's not right. That's being literate. He thought that was super interesting, and then we just kind of got off topic. Kind of bad of me, but we just started talking about other ways you could be literate. He was talking about board games, knowing the rules, explaining the rules. So I thought that giving the survey was a really good lesson for me and for them, because I was able to explain different ways that you could be literate and good at reading without just reading words off of, like, a piece of paper. I think things like this are things that I truly value, and before this clinical experience I wasn't able to work with, like, this age group. Working with 6th and 7th graders is awesome because they're brutally honest, which can be good and bad, but the main thing is that they want to learn, and they're not, like, in the phase of high school where they're, like, too cool to be excited about something. They get so excited about things, and that's contagious. So I've just gotten more and more passionate about teaching from being with these kids because they're so awesome, and I can really see all the things that I've learned in all my methods classes, all my teaching classes, come to life. And based on, like, their critiques of school and the school system, I can really see how I can apply different strategies, different lessons into FCS and into reading if I teach reading, and how I can make it more exciting for them and make them actually enjoy it, which may in turn affect test scores and everything else.